The Conservative Party of Canada is riding a wave of internal turbulence, a high profile defection, a resignation, and growing whispers of deeper unrest. With a leadership review looming for Pierre Poilievre, we ask, can he survive until the end of January? And what happens if he doesn't?
Yeah, there you go. Let's bring up a couple of points here.
Well, as you remember last week, Gary, we spent quite a bit of time speaking about the defection of d'Entremont. I mean, he is one of those that had a riding that was just on the cusp of perhaps going liberal, but it actually went conservative by a couple of thousand votes in his riding. And he essentially pretty much got fed up with the direction and the policies that were being tabled by Poilievre and the conservative government, and he basically had enough and essentially walked across the floor. And from what I've been reading and seeing, it wasn't a question of him being recruited or being coerced to move across the floor. This was absolute personal conviction in moving across the floor and working with policies that he believes his constituents would benefit from, and B, by the same token, what's best for Canada. And I think that's where the defection came to being justified to Mr. d'Entremont. So that's one seat that went from the Blues over to the Reds. And what are we talking about now, Gary? There's about a 2-seat difference between a majority government for the Liberals and not having a majority government, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, two seats shy.
Yeah, 2 seats shy. And then this week we have the resignation of Généreux, which was, I'm not sure whether it was expected or not. But just the same, it's not a walk across the floor. The seat remains a conservative seat, and I believe at this particular juncture, doesn't the government or the Speaker of the House have to designate a date for a by-election because of his resignation, Gary? Which is what, June, July?
Yeah, it's sometime in the spring.
I don't know
if he's actually put a hard date to it yet.
Okay.
But anyway, there would have to be a by-election, but not until the resignation is official.
Is official, correct. So if he resigns, let's say in May, I think within 30 days or 45 days, there has to be a call for a by-election. So we're probably looking at a by-election end of July, August, just the same. And I don't know specifically what the numbers are for his electorate and how much of a win that he had, but I'm sure with a lot of the things that are going on in this country right now, especially with Carney's leadership and what he's doing to bring the economy to a point where we can be not relying on the U.S. economy, driving our economy here and becoming self-sustained. That is a plus for the Liberal government. And then with all the chaos that seems to be coming from the Conservatives, and it's not a monthly thing. We're getting weekly things that are about grumblings towards the party's leadership in Pierre Poilievre. So I think this by-election is probably going to be a closer one than expected. So there's d'Entremont leaving, crossing the floor. You have Généreux resigning. And all of this before the Conservatives go into the leadership review, going through the leadership issues come January of 2026, Gary. And you know what? There's still 6 weeks this year that people can basically cross the floor or resign. Defection is one thing. Just absolute clear resignation with the whole thing is I think something that's a little bit more serious and critical to a party of people just getting fed up and resigning. That does not speak well or bode well for any political party when you have that kind of a headcount turnover. So yeah, I think Mr. Poilievre has got his work cut out for him in convincing the remaining members of Parliament within the Conservative Party to keep the ship moving forward while he's struggling to get them all rowing in the same direction with the policies that the conservative government want to push forward, and then manage the Liberal Party. I mean, that's what the opposition party is supposed to do, is to help guide and critique the ruling party in terms of what they should or should not be doing for Canadians. And I would prefer to have a strong conservative party or a strong opposition in Parliament as opposed to one that seems to be laboring just to get to the next week without any sort of controversy, Gary.
Well, there are a couple of things that come to mind for me. And I've spent the last week since all of the uproar with everyone going and crossing the floor and dancing around the hallways. But here's the thing: the conservative independent media, and there a number of YouTubers fall into that category, and they're going on about how the Liberals had rigged this in such a way that it would distract from the budget. It's a total distraction from the budget that was dropped last week.
Mm-hmm.
And there are two ways of looking at it. Usually when you drop a budget and you've got a good narrative coming out of that budget, and not, most budgets, federal budgets, don't have a great narrative coming out of them. But anyway, right the day of the budget being delivered, you have the floor crossing, and that just took the air out of the budget discussion for the next week.
Right.
So, and then you have the Conservatives, and now the initial reactions, and D'Entremont was on Rosie Barton Live on Sunday with his first TV interview, and he was saying he felt like he was in a frat house, and with everything that was going on and the way his decision to cross the floor was handled. And what I saw reaction-wise, yeah, you're going to be upset with a colleague crossing the floor and going to the other side, especially in a minority parliament. But there's a diplomatic way of handling it, so you don't come off looking like some kind of high school goof. And that's what some of the Conservatives looked like. They used the term rat, and what was the other one? Oh, snake.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's a rat, he's a snake, blah, 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 blah. That's the sort of thing you hear in a schoolyard discussion back and forth, not in the hallowed halls of the House of Commons or outside the House of Commons. You're grown, you're adults. You're supposed to be adults, and you're supposed to be a government in waiting. Start acting like it, for God's sakes. You might, the actual polling right now between the libs and the cons is very, very close. Like, really, it's the margin of error separating them. But when you get down to the leadership, Carney's got a huge lead over Poilievre. That ought to tell you something right there. And that should be telling the party something. As we have said I've said on numerous occasions since the April election, the thing Poilievre should have done was resign the night the results came in.
Yeah, you're right.
Gone. Save the party what it's going through now. If you really cared about the party instead of your own personal agenda, you would have resigned. Because you blew a lead that gave you government in waiting. You couldn't pivot your campaign to take on a new candidate, a new leader, and a newbie to the political scene, leading the Liberal Party, and you lost your own seat. What more do you need to say, yeah, for the good of the party, I should step aside?
Yeah.
That would have been the mature, proper thing to do, but he didn't.